Women in Print Alliance is dedicated to connecting, empowering, and advancing women in the printing industry. As part of Printing United Alliance, we're fostering a more inclusive future through advocacy, education, and networking opportunities that connect women across the entire industry. Join us as an individual to grow your career, expand your network, and access exclusive resources, or enroll your entire organization to show your commitment to supporting women in print. Become a member today at womeninprintalliance.org and help us shape the future of print.
Welcome to Her Imprint, part of the Impressions Exchange. I'm Denise Gustafson, your host. This podcast celebrates the remarkable women who are transforming the printing industry. We'll explore their journeys, from challenges to triumphs, and share the stories that leave a lasting imprint. Today I have with me Adrienne Streeter. She's president with Streeter Printing Incorporated. So Adrienne, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you. So to get us started, can you give us a little bit of a history about Streeter Printing?
Yes, I grew up in a printing family. I was 7 years old, collating around the dining room table, and my dad had a printing press in the basement. And then he moved it to the garage, and then he got a storefront, and eventually he grew to a very large full-color shop with web presses, mailing house inside of his shop, and a complete bindery. And then he was one of the pioneers of quick print companies because they just came out with paper plates as opposed to metal. And the concept of instant printing occurred. And so he had 6 little storefronts in the Baltimore area over the years. So I had quite a background. I worked in the bindery. I worked at his small shops, lots of customer service. And I learned a lot along the way.
So you were 7 when your father got a press and he put it in his basement?
Yep. A little AB Dick 360. It was, I think, a 1 or 2 color press.
So now for you, you've been influenced obviously from a young age. Was printing in your blood? Is that something you really wanted to do? Or did you have something else in mind before you ended up going into the business?
That's a really good question. As much as I would like to say it was an inspirational thing, it was more of a familiarity thing. When I was really young, I wanted to be an art teacher. I always loved art and graphics. And the funny thing is I got a 2-year graphics degree from a junior college, but that was pre-computer. There were no computers. So we used the rapidograph and cold type. That was before the technology took off. So really, it was more familiarity and where life led me than me being inspired by print.
So in terms of the job, you're president of the company now, and it said your dad started it, but you're out in California now, correct?
Yeah, he did not start my company.
Okay.
Actually, I grew up in the industry and was really young and crazy. And at age 21, I came to California and I left school, friends, family, apartment, job, and school just to come to California. It was crazy. So when I came out here, the colleges, I could not finish my degree because the art departments were impacted even in the 70s. So I got a job at a print shop in San Diego and continued to learn. I'll fast forward, get married. My husband was trained at the print shop and he learned how to run printing press. And after years of working for other people, we were making, and I can remember this is crazy, we were each making $6 an hour. And we thought, let's do something else. Now, where I was very fortunate was in our mid-20s, my father kept saying, why don't you open a shop? I'll lend you the money. Guess what? We held him to that. So here we are in our mid-20s. We got a loan, and I'll never forget, it was for $30,000. And we started our own print shop, which at the time was called Copycat Printing, which was the same logo from my family. But as time wore on, a few years later, we realized, no, we do a lot more than copying. And that's when we changed our name. Now, in the state of California, you can only have one name in the whole state if you're a corporation. So we wrote down like Prestige Printing, Paramount Printing, Perfect Print, all of that. They were all gone. And our attorney said, you may as well just call yourself Streeter Printing because that's the only corporate name you're going to get. And that's how that happened. And happy to say that we paid my parents back with 10% interest.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we really had an excellent opportunity. We went for it.
Did you ever regret it?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think as humans, we tend to embrace and support what our lives have taken us. But it's hard to know because I've been an entrepreneur for so long. Some of our clients, we print for large corporations, and I see how a lot of large corporations will chew you up and spit you out. And so I've always made the fact that we own our company as a benefit and an advantage. So I really can't say.
So far, you don't regret anything.
I usually don't look at regrets because I'm old enough to know now that these are choices that I made. And so many of us do not realize that we always have a choice. And a lot of that knowledge came from therapy and being in certain self-help groups. So I can't say I have any regrets at all. And I looked at the positive that I could always attend my children's school plays. I didn't have a boss to answer to. And some of those advantages outweigh or not having a boss and being in control, which is sometimes a blessing and a curse.
I would agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. And then you're talking about raising a family, having a business, two very separate and very important things that you have. There's their pull toward the family. You have the pull toward the company. In a way, it's a child to you because it's something that you built.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
100%. I remember because I had 3 children, and I want to share one thing also that because my husband worked with me, I cannot tell you how many people made assumptions. Oh, it's your husband's business. Okay. Now, my husband has now since retired. He ran a printing press. He stayed in the back of the shop. He was not a businessman. He's a blue collar guy, very good at what he did, was good with printing and the mechanics of the press and everything. But I was the business person. So being female in a male dominated industry was, I won't say it was a challenge. Well, I won't say it was a challenge, but it was clearly an observation. And I had to really work hard to get the respect of an owner. In fact, I'll tell you one funny story. When we had our little storefront here, we started with a storefront. We don't have it anymore. We've grown. But a man would come into the shop with a suit and tie, and he would be gruff, and he'd say, yeah, I can speak to the owner. And I'm like, who may I say you are? And I'm such and such from IBM, as an example. And I said, oh, I'm Mrs. Streeter. May I help you? And then they inevitably squirm and readjust their time. Oh, I used to get a lot of that. Not so much anymore. But one time, salesperson wanted to speak to the owner. And I said, okay, I'll get my husband. And my husband came up, he had his shorts on, his work apron, and he made a tie out of a press rag. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. Now, your question about balancing family and work. What I managed to do was we started the company. My son was 6 months old. And fast forward, I had 2 more children, and I hired a 3-day-a-week nanny who's a good friend of mine, Nancy. She is still with me this many years later. She took care of our kids. She took care of our grandkids. She takes care of us. She's amazing. But that is what gave me the freedom to focus on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at work because I knew my kids were with Nancy. They love her to this day. We're all fun. And that was the way I did it. I still had the guilt. Oh, am I doing enough at work? Am I doing enough at home? And that's a really hard position for women. It really is. because you don't feel like you're accomplishing what you want to in either role.
Yeah, because you're torn between the two in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. But now fast forward, life's great. I have 6 grandkids. Everybody turned out not too nutty. And
So obviously it worked.
yeah, I think what helps me balance, and even today we can probably get into that about success. What helps me is to earmark my time.
Mm.
For example, now I will be 74 years old. I walk Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 10. That is it. No appointment, no nothing else. I commit to my exercise. I commit to my social life, and I commit to work. And I do it by blocking the time. And it seems to work because my demands are not what they used to be.
And then people know what to expect as well.
Yeah, I have a team of people here. So I tell anyone that wants to work with me, I'm here from 12 to 5, Monday through Friday, sometimes Monday through Thursday. It's so great. But it took me 45 years to get here.
You've had a little bit of time to build up to taking those Fridays off if you want to.
Yeah. And speaking of that, it took me many years to develop a confidence. I used to think people older than me were smarter than me. I used to think a lot of employees were smarter than me. You know what I'm saying? And I always felt, I would say, intimidated by or less than or whatever. And through years and years of experience, I realized the perceptions I had were really not true. And that helped me have confidence.
How did you come to that realization?
I really think in a combination of self-validation, making myself as important as everybody else around me. I think that's typical of women. What do? We say, oh, I'm sorry. And we feel responsible for the world and everybody's pain and everything. And I think that's somewhat originated maybe from an upbringing. I was in an alcoholic home. I had behaved a certain way to survive and thrive. And I think as an older adult, I learned that I wasn't as important as everybody else. So that was part of the overcoming of it.
Yeah. And now for you also, like you mentioned, growing up in a male-dominated industry too.
Yes.
What was it like to be the owner? Obviously, when you're starting the company, you're a young woman too.
Yes.
To be in the room, maybe the only woman in the room. What was that like?
You know what's really funny about that? I felt that, but I never considered my gender when I was doing business.
It was just business?
Other people did. I had one press operator, but he made the comment that he doesn't want to work for a lady boss. And I said, okay. And I invited him to leave. I did not give it as much thought or regard as other people did, as the recipients did. So once I came across with knowledge, that's the good thing about having a lot of knowledge in this industry. People soon forget about your gender and they just carry on with business. So a lot more men, I don't know how they felt or what they thought, but when you have the power, it's okay what they think. I'm not saying what people think of me is none of my business.
Yep.
I try to live by that. It's not so easy, but I do. And right now I'm the only female at my company, although my accountant comes in 2 days a week. She's female. So I learned a lot about how men behave and how invested I want to get in their behavior. That just started occurring within the last couple of years at my shop.
Interesting. I know there's also the theory now, the let them. Let them feel or think what they want.
I loved her, Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins, yes.
She's really good. Well, if you want me to extrapolate on that, some of the men here can be like really verbally horrible to each other. And me as a business owner, and say, wait a minute, this is not acceptable in the workplace. One guy, for example, if you don't like it, fire me. And he says that to the operations manager. So what I'm learning now is that this is how they operate. They can be verbally really unprofessional. 2 hours later, they're best friends. So until probably the last few weeks, I would talk with them or blah, blah, blah. And now I'm learning as I get older and not not micromanage as much anymore, which is really a challenge when it's your company.
Yeah.
Now they send me to my room. It's so funny.
They send you to your room?
They do. You always hear about a problem in a job or whatever. So I'd stick my nose in there, like, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And Scott, my production manager, he'll say, look, I got this, and go to your room. We got this. When I finally realized, like, hey, that's cool. My life can be easier.
But you obviously trust them to do the right thing, to do the job, to get it
100%.
done.
100%. All of my staff has been here a long time. And now this is the thing about control. I don't know. I think maybe a lot of women do have control issues. It's very hard to let go. It takes a lot of changing of the mindset. But then you realize it's like, hey, I like this. It's easier.
I know for a lot of women, they're very detail oriented, like you said, but sometimes they lack the confidence that they're not enough. And so maybe that micromanaging is their way to make sure that they are enough in some ways, that they haven't gotten to that point where they feel confident in their own abilities, in their own skin in some ways.
No, I agree. And you grow up, or however you grow up, we all have some level of dysfunction. I understand that. But you grow up one way, and then as women, we're really, at least my generation, I'm a lot older than you, but we're groomed to nurture, we're groomed to caretake. And I know with my husband, we've been married 50 years this year. And
Congratulations.
just see, yeah, I guess. No.
Oh, come on. Congratulations is
Well, the
due.
fact that we didn't lasted this long, we used to make jokes about that, but it's like you can just see the inherent differences in the male and female nature. Is it biology? Is it what we learn? Is it how we've been groomed? What is it? And then men did want to be superior. We know that. So if you're a super sensitive person, which I am, and it is my sensitivity has really helped in business, we can discuss that later. But honestly, this newfound confidence that I have, there's nothing better. There is nothing better.
So you say that you have this emotional, I forgot exactly how you just said it.
Action.
Yes. How does
Okay.
that play in?
That plays into business when you're dealing with a client, and a vendor, or an employee. When a client calls me, let's say they have a problem with the job, the first thing my brain or body goes to is, what's going on? How can we help? How can we make it better? And I've been guilty with employees of enabling too much. So that's another area of discussion. Do we have compassionate? It's inherent in my nature. But then if it goes too far, then it becomes enabling and caretaking. So it's really a fine balance, but I just inherently am compassionate about people and what they're feeling. And part of that is a negative because I tend to take on what they're feeling. I'm an empath. You know what that is?
Yes.
So I've learned stay in my own lane, respect their boundaries, don't overstep my boundaries. This is all things I've learned over the last 10 years.
In some ways, it's hard to not internalize what people are going through, especially as
Absolutely.
women.
Absolutely. Women in printing and women in business, I get it. And I keep hearing about the glass ceiling, but it hasn't been my reality because I'm the owner.
You're up above that glass ceiling.
But it's real. It's real. It's a real thing. And I think, and I have to say too, living in California, I do think it is a more of a liberal environment. We're very progressive. So being a woman out here, I can't really say because I've been here so long, but it's very comfortable.
And one thing that is always the case, and you've already touched on it, the fact that men and women, they communicate very differently.
Yes.
You've touched on it, even what happens on the shop floor versus how you react, and trying to understand all those relationships. That's not something that is something even taught in school a lot. It's something that you have to build through your working life. Obviously, you've been with the company for a very long time, so you've seen a lot. You've made adjustments both in yourself and in your staff to make sure that everything works.
Absolutely. What I want to touch on was the definition of success. And that changes based on your life situation. The definition is very subjective. Some people define success as getting great grades in school. Some people define it of how much money they make. Now these days, how many likes do you get?
Yep.
What's your popularity online? And for me, the definition of success has changed as my life changed. It used to be being able to make a living. And I'll share something with you too that made me think of it. But basically, so when my kids were little, yeah, success meant I wouldn't miss a school play, wouldn't miss an activity. Right? That was my definition of success then. Fast forward to now, my definition of success is finding serenity. I had a heart issue 10 years ago that I could have died. And when something like that happens, your whole mindset changes. And
It's a different kind of clarity at that point.
that was where exercise became a tool for me. And I now combine exercise with social. I walk with a group of friends. I do water aerobics with a bunch of old ladies in the pool.
Why not?
That's the thing about exercise. So many people dread it, but if you integrate social life with it, it's a blast.
Mm.
But anyway, so then my definition now in my 70s has changed. I want good health. I want to travel. I love taking classes. I've started taking painting classes. So it changes as you grow. And yeah, I think most people figure that out.
They do. What you want in your 20s is different than what you want in your 30s for your career. Your success changes based on your circumstances.
Exactly. And now to touch upon the print world and choices. In 2009, business was very bad. And we made the choice to give all of our retirement money to save our company. We made that choice.
It's a tough choice to make.
It is. 2019, we did the same. Again, we strengthened save, and we once again decided to save our company. And it was a choice. So I want to touch on that because in print, listen, every industry has its ups and downs. With COVID, we lost 42% of our business.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And even people were working remotely. So I think the biggest key is to be flexible.
Mhm.
What's going to come? Because something is coming. We've been through 3 recessions and COVID. And now I think we're facing another challenge, and the demand for print is less. There's no way around it. You can't put your head in the sand and know that's not part of reality. So we keep trying to reinvent ourselves and who we print for, and even the social media. How much do you do? How much can you do? And does it make a difference?
It's hard to capture that ROI to figure out what's working, what's not working.
Exactly. And yet I feel like we have to do it all. Yeah. And when you water it down, just talk to my son about that. He will take over this company. I'm still certified woman owned because I have 51%, but he has more shares now than my husband because it's accurate to who's doing work. I have 3 children, 1 male, 2 females. He is the oldest. He is perfectly suited for this industry. He's been here 22 years or maybe longer.
Mhm.
It's a degree in communication and media management, which is good.
Yes.
And my daughters, one is it's funny, she had no interest in the business and she became a hairstylist. However, She is an entrepreneur. She owns her salon. She's also founded a program called Gates to Healing, which is equestrian healing for first responders.
Oh,
So
cool.
she became an entrepreneur. And then my third daughter lives in Tennessee. She doesn't live near me. She's a mother of two. And with succession planning, and this is something I saw in another printing company that I worked at, the owner had 4 children. 3 of them did not belong there. And so when I saw that, it's not character assassination. It's just that they weren't suited. They didn't belong.
Yeah.
I learned that early on, and I'm not going to give my girls mercy jobs. They were not interested. My son was interested, and he has taken our company to a whole different direction. He's like a packaging guru. So we're now really marketing our packaging skills.
I've talked with a number of folks in the industry, and when they have kids, they need to find their own way. Some of them that might come into the industry, some of them might not. They don't want to force it.
Yeah.
For those companies, their grandparents started the company. And it's sometimes my question is, did you have a choice? And in many cases, most of them did. But interestingly enough, they did come back.
Really?
It is interesting that even though they go off, they go do other things, but then they come back with a whole different perspective and they can bring that now to the company. So it is interesting to see.
And I have a lot of respect for my son's knowledge. He never calls me mom at work. I'm Eddie, it's for Adrienne. We keep that relationship separate and we have a whole lot of fun. We banter politically and we just have a lot of fun. And you know what's interesting? A lot of the employees, I want to say resent him because he demands quality and he is particular. And that is how we have guarded our reputation. Streeter printing, if you ask people in San Diego, what do you know about Streeter printing? Oh, they have a great reputation because we care, because the work's good. We answer the phones. I don't have them on some phones. They're going to get a human. And call me old fashioned, but I am telling you, it makes a difference.
It does.
Huge. We have requests for quote online. People call, whatever. How did you find us? Google. That's all they say, Google. They don't know if they're on our website. Like you say, it's hard to really quantify that. The first thing I do is I look at their requests. We keep it very simple and I call them. Oh, most people like it, but you can read between the lines. That's another thing about generations. Okay. We are servicing probably the traditionalists are all dead now, but 4 generations, people even older than me, and they're pretty much gone. The baby boomers, what comes next? The Gen X?
Gen X, yep.
And then the millennials. Is that right?
Yes.
They all do business differently. And yet, when I call, they'll say, I need a brochure. And I'm like, I don't ask them how many or what their budget is. I say, who's your target market? How are you planning to reach them? I start asking them because over the years in this business, I've learned a lot about marketing. And I don't want to say reeled in, but I reel them in. Because I want to know, are you going to mail it? Are you going to see them? What's your venue? I want to know. Printing and marketing, hello. They go hand in hand.
They do. And how they're going to be distributing it is going to make an impact on actually what you produce for them.
Exactly. But that's another thing. It's just if we show an interest, and which is genuine from me, and then we have knowledge and we become their partner. Okay. And then when it gets down to the budget or the price or whatever, it's a non-issue. But remember, we are competing with Vistaprint.
Yep.
And these online printers. So clients will see, I can get it at such and such for so much less. And this happens rarely, but I'll say, you know what? I think that's a really good solution for you.
If they're shopping on price, then maybe you are not the person,
But
the company to work with. Yeah.
I can't do. Have you looked at Vistaprint?
Not lately. I have not.
The amount of templates they have and options, it's wow. So we try to differentiate ourselves back to printing that we are the printer that is not that. We are the printer that has the value of our knowledge and our experience of helping you with your inventory, job engineering your project to get the best bang for your buck, and so on. So that's, I really think, what's kept us going all this year.
And
It's template equal paper.
Yeah. And honestly, the print buyers themselves have changed dramatically. Like you said, you're serving so many different generations, but as you get past, the millennials into Gen Z, into Gen Alpha, they don't understand what print is, what it can do, how to even buy it in some instances. COVID, we lost a lot of people that were in that print buyer role. That I've noticed. There's probably a lot more education that you're needing to do for your customers.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't notice it going away in the old days. I'd say in the old days, we had these print buyers that would grind you to the ground, but they knew what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
They knew how to job engineer and maximize how many you can put on a sheet of paper. They knew, and they are all gone. There's very few ad agencies anymore. There used to be real big ones, Phillips Ramsey, and they were good at advertising and marketing. But then when computers came on board and everybody became a designer with Microsoft Publisher.
Oh dear, no.
You know what I mean? It's horrible. So the point is, it is ever changing. And yeah, so now everybody's a designer, everyone's a buyer. And I don't mean to have sour grapes about this. I don't. But like you say, it's changed.
It has changed tremendously. And like I said, that's one of the things that we've noticed too, is that now there's a lot more education that has to happen. The people that used to understand how to buy print don't.
No.
And it
Well, and
requires it requires the conversation though.
have you heard of that expression, designing for failure?
I have.
Yeah. And so, for example, if somebody will do a crossover with a magazine, you know what a crossover is? And
Yes.
they'll do like hairline type crossing. They do not understand that it is not running the way they see it on their screen. And if I see one that I think is just simply no, there's no way we're going to hit that because, if it's printing on a signature or whatever, if it's a different sheet of paper,
It's just a hair. Yeah.
exactly. And that's where designers don't know that.
And even in talking with some graphic designers, one thing that they've said is that even through their classes in college, they're taught how to design, but they're not taught how to design for print. They've had to learn that on the job.
Absolutely.
So as we're wrapping up, my favorite question that I ask as at the conclusion of all of my podcasts is, knowing what you know now, so your history in print, even growing up around print as a kid, if you were just starting in the printing industry today, what advice would you give yourself?
I'm going to go back and get a tiny bit regarding the industry, and then I'll get to your question. What I love about print, I learn every day. I read what we print. I've met authors. I've met scientists. So in that respect, printing is a very interesting industry. And when you're an owner, I have had to learn about construction, reading leases, contracts, work with attorneys, work with HR. So when you are the owner of a company, and I don't think it's limited to printing, you become an expert. And
You have to be.
you have to be. I would sit here and enlarge contracts so I could read them. My landlords, you are the only one that's ever read a lease. Like, yeah.
I want to know what I'm signing. It's my livelihood. It's my business. I need to know.
Everything. And now that's why I worry about DocuSign these days. Is what you sign. Would I tell a woman to go into the industry today? Is that what the question is? Could you repeat it?
If you were starting in the industry today, knowing what you know up to this point, what advice would you give yourself?
If I was starting specifically in printing,
Yes.
If you have tenacity and you realize the value of multi-channel marketing, print, mail, digital, conference, all of it. If you're ready to do if you understand that print is integrated with other areas of marketing, go for it. And also, print is necessary. We print pharmaceutical inserts. We print from medical device companies. How you learn to take your medications, all of that. So print is still very valuable in this world, and it's very much appreciated. Print is not dead.
It's just changing.
It's changing. Don't look at print as the end all. Realize you must integrate it with other methods of communication.
Yeah, because honestly, that's where print can shine too.
Yes, thank you. And the idea, you're still getting catalogs in the mail, aren't you?
I am. I love my catalogs, but then I'm also a print girl. So of course I'm going to love all of those.
But realize why they're still printing them. Because, for example, it has the shelf life. I get my catalog from Land's End. I don't have time to stop right then and there and go online and order, but that's on my desk for a week. It's just another way to reach the public. Amazon prints.
Yes, they do. They have a
I
whole
get their
big like
catalog.
toy catalog at the end of the year.
Yes, Amazon prints, Google prints. So print is part of the multi-channel marketing, and it's going to be here forever. And then the other thing is paper is biodegradable.
People forget about that.
Recycle. You can print on recycled paper. So yes, if you're ready to be brave in a changing industry, that you will never be bored. Not one moment have I ever been bored. I've been aggravated.
Who hasn't been aggravated in whatever industry we've been in?
Exactly. Exactly.
Adrienne, it was a pleasure talking to you today. I really do appreciate it.
Pleasure was mine.
Thank you for joining us on this journey to celebrate and amplify the voices of women in the printing industry. If you have a story to share or know someone whose journey deserves to be highlighted, we'd love to hear from you. Together, let's continue inspiring and empowering the next generation of leaders. Until next time, keep leaving your imprint. This is Her Imprint. See you soon.